Hey guys, glad to have you all over here. Just had a wonderful stream on James just now. Super great job, James. You did.
Thank you. Thank you for being there and helping.
Oh yeah. Well, and I just saw that I put that Fish Mafia, Tennessee Fish Mafia up, and I didn't know if I told you, James. We went to the place that the art goes to. That's Bob Taylor's. I mean, he doesn't own it, but he's not necessarily in charge, but he's the top dog of the board there. And they take care of small and medium-sized dogs and cats, and they find them new homes. It's a wonderful place, no-kill shelter. Well, and if you super chat Bob on any of his live streams, he gives 100% of his money to the art, which is really cool. But so we went to their printing shop, and we ordered a big sign, which is awesome. That's going to say Tennessee Fish Mafia for the fish room. And they were going to do us the shirts and stuff, but they said we had to have a minimum order of 25. Gotcha. So, yep. So I'm back on the road looking for print shops. But someday, eventually, we'll get there.
We will. We will indeed.
James, do you want to say hi to everybody while I bring up the chat real quick?
Sure thing. Hi to everybody. Are you ready, Ed? No, I'm just kidding. We have got.
I just hit YouTube now.
We have got Fish Tropic, Jimster, Dave's Aquarium Thoughts, Sand Creek Aquatics, 2 Seaweed Dragular, Dana Ken Aquatics. What's going on? Kenny E, Darlene's Tanks, John Cox again. Hello, Deb Holly, William Pride, Moore, Tim Carter. Of course, everything. I'm Carrie Habercorn. Hello and welcome. 44 Mad Guy, Fish and More. John McKenzie, Fish Dreams. Brian Watson, Jim Stir again. Hello. You get 2 of them. Sand Creek Aquatics to Amy. Did they get Rico Stan? I don't know. Who's this Rico Stan guy? He looks like a hippie. I'm just kidding. Good to see you there, Rico Stan. Dead Fred 821. I saw you in the previous stream. Didn't get a chance to say hello. Appreciate you being here. Of course, Bird Garden saying, caught myself a little fish room fever and heard this was the only cure. More cowbell. Yes, for anybody that knows rack. More cowbell. Oh, goodness.
I need to get a cowbell. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Punchy Paints, how are you, Pam? I hope you're doing well today. Guppy Shack, I saw you in the other one as well. Lots of people rolling over. I appreciate each and every one of you all. And again, if you're rolling over here, you just came over from the Fish Room Fever stream. Maybe this is your first time here on the Chattanooga Ed channel. I'm going to encourage you to subscribe. Ed is an awesome guy. He does a lot more co-hosting than I think anybody else in the Fish fam, but sadly doesn't ever really get the subscribers. So he's been on a lot of channels that, and they get up there in numbers, but he could definitely use the subscriptions, and this is the place to find him, is the Chattanooga Ed channel. He's got awesome guppies and does great videos. So I'm going to shamelessly promote him. We're swapped sides now. Hit that subscribe button. Give him a thumbs up.
It's so confusing because for years, well, not for years, but for like a year and a half, James has always been on the other side. So I was always able to go this way.
We couldn't switch it.
He just made it so we could switch sides, and it's so confusing.
Yeah, I host this show as well as the first one off of my computer for anybody that gets confused on that. Because for the longest time, people would say, James needs to be on the other side. And I'd say, well, software won't allow us. Now it will. So we're still trying to figure out that guy over there.
Even though I still kind of like being over there, but it doesn't matter. I'm probably used to being over there because I'm there almost all the time.
Yeah.
But I'll be on the Lefty show tomorrow, probably on that side. We'll find out. You never know what's going to happen on the Lefty show. It's just a crazy show. That's it.
So
4:15 on Fridays.
I want to throw one thing out there because we didn't do it on my channel and we meant to. But for anybody that's unaware, Priscilla MK, she does fantastic art. She has got a calendar available. And, she asked us if we'd mention it because we talk about it a lot and we both love her artwork. So I wanted to throw that out there. I think she's still got, was it 7 available? If you get to it now.
Hang on, guys. I got to.
Oop, the cats are yelling at him. She's got a couple left. So I wanted to throw that out there to get those while you can. And then I believe Punchy Paints, Pam, who's in there, you've got a calendar this year as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. But 2 awesome people. So try and grab that Swiss Aquatics calendar from Priscilla MK. for some reason you can't get in there in time, they've been snatched up. Pam has the nicest fine art calendar, I guess you could call it. I don't know. They're both amazing artists. Check them both out. And we'll get some links in here for both of those on how to get them ordered. But I wanted to throw those out there because those are two awesome people that I enjoy. And we want to support anybody that we can.
Yep, I'm trying to find
hashtag not sponsored.
Trying to find the Arapaima because it is crazy. Dan was talking about it on Get Gills as amazing, and when I first saw it, I just was like amazed by it.
Mainly Betta says, is that the same Priscilla that does art for Jadrin? If so, she's amazing. Yes, that is indeed the same Priscilla. Jadrin is actually who printed her calendars.
Actually, she sent me a photo of every single thing it's going to be in it. But I mean,
and there you go.
Right there alone, I want to order the biggest possible print I can. And I've never been an Arapaima guy, but I mean, that's crazy awesome.
It is. And
so cool.
Like Petchy Paints pointed out, her calendar is wildlife and Western art. Priscilla is the bestest fishy calendar. So, yep. So you got both options there.
Yep. I think she said this is June because I asked her what my month is for my birthday. She's going to have her beautiful shrimp. And I mean, and the detail is crazy good when you get to it. It's just amazing. Here, I could probably make these a little bigger on my phone too. But yeah, I would highly recommend Priscilla's. And she said she only has 7 left. Did you mention that?
I did. And they are, nobody's asked about it, but I'm going to throw it out there. They are $18 shipped for Priscilla's calendar. I'm not sure the price on Pam. She's welcome to throw that in there. But we've got 64 people here. 51 have hit the thumbs up button. They want to hear about Cory cats. So I want to ask you, Ed, can I just go buy 2 Cory cats and them be happy? Or what's some things I need to know about Corydoras?
Well, I love Corys. I've been, my dad, when I was a little kid, introduced me to fish, and he would raise and sell fish to local fish stores. And he basically did red, white, and blue guppies and bronze Corydoras. But bronze are also the standard albino that you see a lot, come from the same. And so he had the 2 different Corys, and so I've always loved Corys, but I mean, he had literally hundreds, so you would see them in giant packs. And like James was alluding to, saying too, that, I'm sure, I don't know if we've all watched Cory and other people, but they really prefer to be in a group of 6 or more. I mean, you can do 3 and they'll always be together, but they'll be so much more happy when they're 6 because they'll do so much more dancing and swimming up and down. Yeah, they're just awesome. And James was talking about earlier also in his other stream was, for a cleanup fish, plecos will clean your fish up and eat the poop. These guys aren't going to eat the poop either, but they're going to clean up. They're going to eat all the leftover food. And I love having Corys in my guppy tanks because, I like to overfeed my guppies. So they wipe out the stuff on the bottom. They love to eat worms and things. So I give them bloodworms. I know if I give my guppies too many bloodworms, they're going to pound it too. So it works as a really good combo with guppies. And I've heard people say that they don't trust Corys with guppy fry. And I had a concern about that in this tank. And I think I have 2 leopard loaches, and that's another thing is you shouldn't have loaches just 2 at a time, but that was all they had at the store, so I got them both. And the intention is to get a group of 6 of them together. But I just put them in there for now, and I was going to kind of transport them from tank to tank. But I think they were what was wiping out my guppy fry. So, but nevertheless, we're not talking about loaches. We're talking about Corydoras. I love them. They're super great.
So let me ask you, and somebody did mention, I would say 4 is the lowest number. Yeah, I really wouldn't do lower than 4. I've seen 3. 6 is recommended, but I want to also put that in perspective. If you go in and you buy 6 Corys and there's a 7th one in the tank, just get the 7th and don't leave that one little guy in the tank by himself at the pet store, please. That's just kind of an ask for me. I always feel
and
bad.
if they have 4, and you say, well, you got to get 3, well, you get the 4th one also.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ed, and I want to clarify real quick here, people. I know the answers to these questions because people are going to go,
yeah.
Well, this guy sounds like an idiot. I thought he knew what he was talking about.
He's a guy, not a Corey guy.
Yeah, no. So Ed, I have to
wearing,
keep these on sand substrate, right?
I'm keeping my. No, you don't.
I don't. Tell me more.
Well, they I prefer them on soft sand straights because they like to stick their whole little head in the sand, and I mean it's so awesome when they're going with their little barbels under the ground. And there's been a lot of people say that you can't put them on rocks and stuff because they'll wear their barbels out. And in my 120, I have some Eco Complete in there, and it's not like a full thing of it, but I've got 12 skunks and 12 bandit Corys, and they're all doing fine. I wish I wouldn't have ever put it in there because of the chance that it could maybe snag one of their bristles or barbels, but because they have like the 4 little barbels that are kind of like their fingers that are feeling under the ground, looking for worms and things. And so, but I truly haven't found that as a problem. But if you're going to have Corys, why put them on a hard substrate? But I mean, my dad, he raised thousands of them on slate bottom tanks. He didn't put anything. So, I mean, he literally did it for almost a decade throughout the 80s and or throughout the 70s and a few years into the 80s.
So Brian Watson has a question for us. Says, I'm putting together a tank right now and want like 11 Ember Tetras and 7 or 9 Corydoras Hesperosus. Do you think I could have a trio of Goldeneye Dwarf Cichlids or just leave it as is? So that's what it is. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Assuming that you've got the sufficient tank size to do it, in terms of compatibility, you should be fine. But be looking for a tank size. I mean, sounds like you probably know what you're getting into and you're doing. So I would say you've probably got a big enough tank to do that. Compatibility wise, I would think they'd be fine. That is the Nanakara, right?
I've never had problems with Corys with anything that I've kept, but I've always kept like probably the largest fish I had were large discus with little bitty mouths. I've never put them with Africans. I have had African tanks. And there's other fish that are great catfish for that, but we aren't going to go into those guys. But I don't know. Have you ever? You see, I watch a lot of Corey, and I know he's recommends that never put them in with goldfish because goldfish will eat anything. And I remember him doing a stream where he was like, this was maybe like a couple of years back. Somebody had brought their goldfish in, and they had a Corydoras stuck in its gills, and he had to cut the Cory out, and he just felt horrible that day, trying to save one or the other. And that's just terrible.
Yes, so, this was one of my favorite things when Corey was talking about this. Candy Overhauls pointed out when Corey from Aquarium Co-op collected in Peru, they collected Corydoras on jagged rocks in their natural habitat. I need to kill my camera because I've got to fix my seat. The hydraulics dropped out on me, but I'm still here with you, buddy.
and I remember him saying that also. So I don't know. Maybe if it was like pure Eco Complete, that's it. Maybe it was messing up one of their barbels, or people were buying them in that because Eco Complete, I believe, is just lava rock that's all smashed down, and it's not like the lava rock that you buy that's like floaty with the air in it. It's a different type of lava rock, from what I understand. And I think it's more of the rock that comes out and it turns into like a glass type rock. I don't know what they're all called. I'm sorry. But I think the Eco Complete is the one that I'd probably not do with the Corys. But I've got just about every type of substrate in the fish room. And I purposely, the only thing that I wouldn't put the Cory cats on is the Eco Complete, because everything else I feel comfortable to do. I mean, I prefer to keep them not on gravel because I really like seeing their faces underneath the sand. So, no.
Redfish Bluefish, the master scientist of the group. Buddy, it's good to see you. I'm sorry I haven't caught your streams lately. I've been missing. My sleep schedule's gotten screwed up again. I've been up like all night, every night, and then falling asleep later in the day, evening, and then. But sorry I haven't seen you lately, buddy. But it says every Cory species I have now prefer to sleep on Eco Complete.
So, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not.
I mean,
I'm definitely not going to say don't do it. And I mean, and Jason, I totally trust him, but I'm still not going to do it because I know they like sand.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
I'm looking in here right now, and it's a sand. I've got 4 sitting on sand, and I've got 2 sitting on my sponge filter right now. So normally I have a rock in there too. It's really bizarre that I took my rock out. I don't know why I did that. But
so Dave's Aquarium Thoughts, who is up after us, usually. I don't know what time he's got it scheduled for tonight, but he's going to have a live stream later. He's asking, do you think the missing barbels can just be bad water quality?
I don't know.
I'm going to speculate, and again, pure speculation. I'm going to say it's probably not bad water quality necessarily most of the time. But there may be other things that come into account. Maybe you've got something that's nipping at those guys when they're just kind of not paying attention. You know, my Corys, I've noticed a lot of times they'll just kind of sit there, not necessarily sleep, but just kind of hang in one spot altogether. Just kind of hang out there and not really be paying attention. Another fish could come along and get a quick nip. I mean, you figure even if you've got some fat guppies in there, they might see that little worm-looking thing on the side of this fish's face and want to grab a hold of it. So there's always potential that something else could be grabbing a hold of it. I have not personally ever seen water quality cause missing barbels, but I also don't usually see a tank with bad water parameters. So that's the extent of my ability to answer that with firsthand knowledge.
Yeah, I don't know if fin rot would come to their barbels or not. I think it would be more just wearing it out. Like, you know, if Eskimos chew like when they're the way back in the day when they wore like their all leather and fur clothing, and when they come back and they'd be like in their lodges, the women would chew the leather to make it soft again, and they would wear their teeth out severely just by chewing this hard leather to make it soft so they could wear the clothing nice and stuff. Their teeth would just be worn to nubs. And I kind of imagine it'd be kind of the same way as, you know, if you're got your barbels in there and you're going all the time, it would slowly wear away. But, I mean, there's so many different levels of rock, too. I mean, one batch of rock from 10 years ago maybe was a lot sharper. You know, maybe it was more of the, I wish I could remember Earth Science, what the lava rock was that came out that's like glass. Maybe it had more of the real sharp stuff 10 years ago. And It got a bad name. I mean, so much of the fish hobby is people saying something and somehow it becomes a law.
Right. And that goes back to the biggest thing. What works for me may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me. There are general guidelines that we can use, and I think that's where a lot of the stuff comes from. And I can understand that we need some sort of like base safety level for people getting into the hobby that don't know what they're doing. It's great to have those kind of standard safety guidelines, if you will, that, well, we know this is safe, so start here. But once you've been in the hobby, you know, a lot of us, we like to experiment with stuff and try things out. So just keep in mind, I might have a tank that's running a certain way for 12 years. You set yours up the exact same way, and then it's a catastrophe for you. You could have different water quality. You could have the same fish, but their personalities are different. They're more aggressive. Brian Watson came back and said that's a 12-gallon long. So I will say, if you're going to add the Nanocar to that, make sure that you've got a nice planted setup in that tank. And I personally think you'd be okay. You know, those Ember Tetras are going to stay small. I don't know the exact footprint of the 12-gallon long. Since you've already got the Corys, I'm going to assume that you've looked at it, and that's plenty of floor space for them, if you will, to have room to swim around. But in terms of just...
Corys were they?
Were they the Paleotis?
Corys will get up to 3 inches long, and if you end up having a whole mess of them, full adults, 12 might be a little tight. Not trying to be that jerk.
I don't remember the Cory type. I just remember the Ember Tetras and the Golden Dwarf cichlids.
The nice thing about the Corys is they're on the bottom, so it's not like they're in the water column that much. So, I mean, I know that there's been people worried about like bettas in their tank because, you know, if you got Corys and you put a betta up there because you want something action on top, then if you get a pack of like 12, it's awesome because they're like little race cars and go, you know, up and down. And I used to love watching, and they're just, and they look like they're chasing each other, and they probably are, but it's awesome. I used to keep bettas in my tanks, and I never had any betta freak out because of Corydoras. So
absolutely. And mainly Betta says, I had a shoal of Corydoras paleotis on gravel, and after 2 months, they were also missing their barbels. Switched to a new tank with all sand bottom, and now 4 months, all have grown back. So there you go.
That's awesome.
You know, another thing that could also factor in that I don't think it's talked about as often is what are you feeding them and how often? If they're doing a lot more scavenging, they're more likely to mess up their barbels. If you've got some really plump, fat Corys that are constantly being able to just get food right off at the surface, and they're not necessarily doing as much deep digging in the substrate, you know, that I would tend to think personally they're less likely to mess up their barbels because they're doing less digging. Okay, it was Brian Watson says Hasbrosis, 1.5 inch. So yeah, I personally think you would be fine. Like I said, I would get that planted. You know, those cichlids, those little golden dwarfs are going to want some vegetation in there. It'll look really nice to have those Ember Tetras in there with some nice plant work done, if you will. So get some plants in there. That'll also help, of course, with water parameters. Just stay on top of your parameters. I personally think it'll be fine. Some people will agree with me and say that maybe that's overstocked. But again, to each their own. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. A lot of people look at my tanks and go, there's too much fish in there. Well, I have the beneficial bacteria load built up to a point to handle that many fish, you know? And that's something I keep in mind when I'm cycling is I don't just say, oh, well, my tank is now processing to nitrates. I go, oh, can my tank process 10 fish worth of nitrates if I want 10 fish in there, or, you know, however many fish. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole we won't go down. I do want to ask you, Ed, so I want to set up an aquarium. Do I have to do a cold water tank for Corys, or what's a good temperature? Can I put any in my warm water tanks?
Well, okay. Most Corys are about 68 to about 80. 80 might be a little pushing it. Probably 78. That's why I love them for guppies, because they're like great with guppies. I know that everybody always asks what they can put in with rams and discus, and I know that Stir-By, they're probably one of the more popular Corys out there. They've got lots of little spots on them. They're super cute. They can handle the hotter temperatures. There's so many different. There's over 500 types of Corys out there, so you can almost find them for just about any type of tank you got. You're gonna be able to find, except for maybe monster Corys. There's not a monster Cory.
Well, yeah, it's just like Plecos. They have the L number for the Lower Caridae. Corydoras has the C number they've instituted because there are so many of them. They just had to start throwing numbers on them.
I would love to see a Cory, though, that big. Wouldn't that just be awesome?
That would be. So I would ask, if you've got questions that you definitely want answered, if you'll put @FishroomFever in front of it, because Ed usually can't see anything with @Chattanooga Ed.
Without my glasses down.
Yeah, that'll pop it up for me, and I can make sure that we address it if you put @FishroomFever. Otherwise, I'm kind of just grabbing whatever happens to be in front of my eyes as I get a breath in.
Here's one. Just now, I'm just picking one in front. I'm not doing very good because, like Dan always starts at the top to the bottom. But Amy from Sand Creek 2 said, "Can I put Corys in with my shrimp?" There's two Corys one Cory for sure will never mess with your shrimplets, and that's the pygmy Cory. They're super cute. They've got like kind of a they're full grown. They're like barely an inch, but they've got kind of a black and a white stripe down the side. They don't quite look like a full Cory either, but they got the little Cory face. They're super cute. You got to check them out. They're normally between like $3 to $8, I think. But and they're a nano fish, so they always stay small, and they won't mess with your shrimp. Now, there's also pygmy Corys. They might eat some of your shrimplets, but they won't mess with anything big. But I mean, I keep shrimp and Corys. I keep shrimp. I try to have shrimp in every tank I've got because I'm a huge guppy guy, and I love the shrimplets for food for my guppies. But one of my fish just dropped. That's awesome. But so it gives them a whole mess of things to hunt and stuff when you're not feeding them too. So that's cool.
Yep, I think you pretty much covered the big three, should I say the tiny three? The checker Cory, which is the Hesperosis that we were talking about a minute ago, in that one tank. The dwarf for the Corydoras, it was Hastatus, something like that, and then the Corydoras pygmaeus, or the pygmy Cory. If you're looking for a little bitty Cory that's going to get maybe an inch, check into those. Those are going to help not eat shrimp, like you mentioned, and they're great for smaller tanks. And they're absolutely adorable. They really, really are.
We've got like a map of fish to show you guys if anybody wants to see what they look like.
I pulled some of it up earlier, but Dead Fred's got a question for us. Thank you for using the highlight there. Says, are there any homemade recipes for foods or food that you can recommend, gentlemen? For Corydoras?
Well, okay, feeding my Corys. I generally feed them the shrimp pellets because my guppies don't eat the shrimp pellets. Just too big, and the Corys love them. I should have pulled out. I got a brand new bottle over there, but they're like, I don't know, pretty good size. So a guppy can't eat that, but the Corys just love these things, and they sink straight to the bottom real quick. Now, I can't do that in my 125 where I've got 24 Corydoras because I've got about 300 mollies, and they devour everything. So the only way I know for sure that my Corys are eating in that tank is every night, right before I turn out the lights, I drop bloodworms in. And I turn the light off on the tank, and I let the mollies start to all settle down, and then I drop that in there. And a couple mollies might notice and go, "Oh, some food," but for the most part they're all chilled. And then my Corys can eat like at dusk every night. And I know it's probably not the best deal, but they aren't starving, so that works. I always keep green beans. Like I buy a bag of frozen green beans and I break it open, and I've got a freezer dedicated to just fish food, and you'll see 2 bowls, Tupperware bowls, filled with green beans. And when I do my frozen foods, I always put hot water in them to get them going. And I do the same thing with my beans. And then where's my knife? I always have a knife right here on the table, right on the other side, where I cut it. And so they don't have to eat through the hard part of the green bean. They can get right to the mush. But they ended up, maybe it's the snails that eat the hard part, because I don't even see the skin of the green bean the next day. Or the shrimp might be eating the skin. I don't know, but everything gets eaten on the green beans.
Absolutely. So I would say there's probably somebody out there that has done a specific recipe for Corys. I have not seen that. However, and I think it was Candy that pointed out Rapashi would be, where did it go? Candy, Rapashi would be a good food as well for Corys, keeps them from scavenging. Another thing you could do is do-it-yourself gel food, similar to the Rapashi. JH Aquatics at one point did a really cool one where he took a gummy bear mold and made little gummy bear gel foods to drop into the tank. And then you could, mix whatever blend you want to in there. Get all those foods ground up and turn them into little gummy bears if you want to do gummy bear But whatever mold you decide to use, make your own type of gel food for them, just like rapashi. But if you want to try some rapashi, check out the Aquarium Co-op site. Hopefully that's in stock, or Candy will yell at me.
I chop up some jumbo krill too, because I've got quite a bit of that, and I'll throw that in there. But I take the little hard shell off the tail. So I guess I shell my shrimp for them.
Yeah. So Amy Secret Aquatics 2 is asking, fisherman favorite is the pygmy the smallest of the cories? Basically, you can do the checkered cory, the pygmy cory, or the dwarf cory.
Dwarf.
Checker, pygmy, or dwarf are all going to stay super, super small. So look into those, see which one you personally like better. Because again, I don't want to tell you, get pygmies, and maybe you prefer the checkered cory better that has brosis. So look into those three, see which one you like better, and then get the one that you enjoy.
Yeah, people are asking me about types of food that I use, and Omega 1, I buy 2 of their products that I'm religious about. And one of them is the Omega Red that I just grind up into powder for my shrimp, or for my guppies.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't grind it up for the mollies and the angels. And then I've been using the shrimp pellets from Omega 1. From Omega 1 forever, because it's really good. Now, Extreme, I was talking to James about this earlier. I love this better than my other shrimp foods. This has become my favorite because this is the one that the shrimp hit. I have shrimp and North Fin also.
And it doesn't instantly turn to mush. I love that about it as well. It softens. It's kind of like old O-Nip tabs versus new O-Nip tabs. It has just the right consistency to dissolve properly, and it doesn't just turn to mush.
But this is what I've noticed, James, is I will feed my shrimp the Cory Cat shrimp flakes sometimes because there's a gnat that just flew right into my.
Real quick, I'm going to interrupt you just to say, Rico Stan said, got to hit the sack. My barbels are dropping. I'll watch the replay. Good stuff. Ed and Fish from Fever. Thanks. Rico Stan, if you're still listening, have a wonderful night. I appreciate you hanging out with us, though we've probably already missed you. Sorry, Ed, go ahead.
Oh, I just built them. Well, you can see that and that. They're virtually the exact same mold. And they hold up the same on the bottom. So sometimes I even drop the Omega 1 shrimp pellets in for my shrimps that I give to the Corys. Okay, that's all I was going to say.
Oh, you're good, buddy. You are good. I'm sure we haven't missed anything else highlighted. That's in terms of shrimp pellets. That's what I would use responding to Mr. Fish, sir. Now, I will say my Corys, especially my panda Corys, even though they're super fat and well fed, when I feed the Extreme Community Crave flakes, they will come up to the surface and snag that stuff. I guess the smell of it when it hits the water. But they absolutely, they'll go up to the surface and get it. There are not a whole lot of things they go up to the surface for. Usually they'll just wait for green beans or whatever I feed them to go to the bottom. But when that stuff hits the top, they're like up there, like, please give me some of that.
I'm going to see if the Corys like this shrimp stuff. I've never tried the reverse. But I've spilt it all over the place, and boy, it kind of has a smell to it.
So, Delilah, I didn't see what your question was before. I do see where you're saying that. I opened my store this morning to be home for live streams and made sure I close tomorrow night. So take your time chatting. LOL. Loving my weekly soaps. Delilah, it's always great to have you here. Thank you for being a member over there. But I saw some people trying to answer your question, but I didn't see your original question. If you were still needing any help, we can do our best to help you out. Mrs. Fever, good night. Sweet dreams. She's got work in the morning, so she is out of here. Roll down through here. Nothing else highlighted. All right. Yes, Deb Hall with the big heart says Extreme Foods, Flakes, Nano, and the 1.5 Community Aquarium Co-op. Yes, the 1.5 millimeter nice pellet. I love it. I did a video a little while back, shameless plug, what and how often to feed your fish. That was all about Extreme Foods with a lot of underwater footage of the fish eating different foods. And that was more a breakdown of, hey, if you have angelfish, here are the 3 or 4 different, dried foods you could feed them, along with some different frozen and live foods on top of those things. But yeah, that was all extreme stuff. I love their product. I really do. Hashtag not sponsored. Wouldn't mind it. And I do appreciate the couple of free things they did send me. I really, really do. But just a huge fan of their product. All right. I am at the bottom. If you've got questions, feel free to throw them in there. So Ed, you talked about kind of the general temperatures that I can use. Do you have anything that I can put in a little bit warmer tank in terms of Corydoras?
I talked a little bit about the stir-by. I know for sure that goes in the hotter tanks. Now, when I kept discus, I did not keep any Corys with my discus. I kept spotted Raphaels kind of as a cleanup crew, because the discus I used to make my own food for them. And I'd grind up beef heart, tilapia, and shrimp together and make it into cubes. But it was really messy. And so I really needed something for a cleanup crew. And the spotted Raphaels, they're like little vacuum cleaners. So that worked out. But I'm pretty sure that you can use stir-bys. I've seen it. Several people say that stir-bys are great, and they're a beautiful fish. They're probably one of the prettiest of the Corys. And one thing I've noticed with when we're just talking about colors and stuff, I have emerald Corydoras on white substrate, and they're really tan. I mean, you get to see a little bit of the green on them, but then they're really gold. But then I've got them on the black sand, and they're almost black. It's crazy. And they came from the same, not really litter, but batch or hatch. It's crazy how dark they are. So they're a lot like shrimp, how they actually change to the color of the substrate. I think that's pretty cool, too. I never knew that about Corydoras, that they would actually, the substrate would affect their colors, but it definitely has, at least with the emeralds.
Absolutely. Zen, thank you for posting that link to that video. Priscilla, I want to say I agree 100%. Priscilla MK says you all need to subscribe for real so we can send Ed super stickers. Yes, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, click subscribe, click all notifications. You won't be sorry.
Yep. I'm not ever going to do membership. So if you like what I'm doing, go sub to this guy, because he's my partner. And we're like a team. So, and if you want to see membership stuff with me in it, I'll do stuff with him.
I appreciate that. I really do, Ed. Yeah, Candy Overhaul says my shrimp love that extreme. Yeah, so you can find extreme. First off, I want to say, check your mom and pop local fish store. Support them. If they've got extreme, get it there. That's where I get mine. My LFS actually didn't carry extreme. I'm fortunate enough to have a wonderful relationship with them where I said, hey, can you get this product line? And they said, absolutely. We've looked into it before. And in no time, they had it on the shelf. If you don't have a mom and pop LFS, I understand a lot of people don't. You can either check the Aquarium Co-op site. They've got it there, or KG Tropical's website. Either one, both of them, awesome people. Fully support John at KG as well as Aquarium Co-op. So I'm not going to choose where to send you to there. I'll say they both carry extreme as far as I know still to this point. So check them out.
The strangest I think, was it Dead Fred that said that's weird when I said the beef heart? That was for my discus. I didn't want to buy the frozen beef heart, so I decided to make it myself, and it worked real well. The strangest thing I've ever seen one of my Corydoras eat, and it's one of my bandit Corydoras. That's probably my favorite Corydora. I know it has a land name. It's starts with an M. But if you go to bandit, you'll see him. He actually would eat blackbeard algae. None of the others would, but he would go right up on it and just gobble it down until there was no more in there, and just pounded it away.
Absolutely. I saw a question earlier. I can't find it, but it was asking basically, why do Corys go up and gulp air? From what I understand, that is something that is kind of an ingrained genetic habit from living in low oxygen environments, to the best of my remembrance and understanding. It's kind of something that, those fish are often found in places where very low oxygen, low water levels, and it's just an adaptive way to thrive, I guess would be the best way to put it. I'm not finding the words that I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's kind of like a puffer fish can puff, but it doesn't need to. But every so often they just do it.
Yeah.
They can gulp air. So there's other catfish that can gulp air too. When the summertime comes and wherever they live and the streams get cut off and it turns into ponds and there's no air in the water, and they can do it. Now, that said, Corys can live longer in bad quality fish tanks because of that. When your other fish might be croaking because of lack of oxygen, they might actually do a little better. But if you see them doing it nonstop, you better do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of use that as the canary in the coal mine. If you see it doing it a lot, there's probably a problem. Mississippi Hippie says, Fisher Fever, what's a good food for growing eclipse, aka sun catfish? So I'm going to say I'm not kept eclipse. If I had to guess from it being a catfish, I've seen them before. They're beautiful fish, but I've not kept it. I'm going to say probably a high protein diet, bloodworms, things like that. Big fella pellet. Probably, if you're still growing, monster pellet's probably going to be too big. If big fella is even too big, to do the nice pellet. Again, most of what I recommend is going to be extreme foods and frozen foods, or of course live foods. But I would say bloodworms are kind of one of my go-to frozen foods for growing out pretty much anything that's big enough to eat them and will eat them. I also love them for some of the fish that aren't necessarily carnivorous, but getting that extra protein in for like egg production. So I will tell you, when I feed frozen brine shrimp and frozen bloodworms to my bristlenose, which are not known for being a carnivorous pleco, I get some of the best egg lays, and that usually is what gets them to lay eggs. Is they get that extra protein for egg development, and that tends to help. Katie has posted the link for Extreme on Aquarium Co-op. Good stuff right there. Thank you, Candy, for posting that.
Yeah, and I mean, and all the Corys, or just about all the Corys, love worms. So bloodworms and blackworms, they love them. That's what they're looking for in the rocks, the little worms and stuff. So
absolutely. Real quick, I do want to say Priscilla MK mentioned she had one calendar left. Yeah, says Zen Ginger, there is one left. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it, Priscilla.
That is awesome, Priscilla. And I mean, it's definitely go get it, because it is awesome. And if you guys are thinking about it, just do it.
With one left, somebody better grab it if they haven't already.
I've already got mine on the side, so I'm set. And
can I just give a personal shout out? Bob Kaler. Kaler's Aquatics is in here. The awesome super mod. He's a really good guy. We've got some new people that have kind of come through both of our channels tonight. And if there was only one person that I could point out tonight, besides Ed here, of course, go check out Kaler's Aquatics. Bob was the first person on YouTube that I got to meet. He's the one that introduced me to Chattanooga Ed. If it wasn't for him, you all wouldn't get to hear my gums flapping a couple times a week. I would have never met my buddy here. So a huge shout out to Kaler's Aquatics. As we mentioned earlier, he does run the ARC, which is a nonprofit no-kill shelter. And we do have a GoFundMe link on the fishermanfever.com website for that. And again, like Ed mentioned, if you're in his live streams and you super chat him, all of that goes to the ARC. He hasn't said this, but I would say, in theory, it would probably be better to use the GoFundMe, because I know for a fact YouTube takes, 30+%. Somebody said it varies person to person from 30 to 40%. I know they take 30% for me. So immediately, if you're doing it to support the ARC, he's going to lose 30% of that to YouTube before it ever gets to him. I think GoFundMe is something like 3% they take out as a fee. So just kind of stretching that donation dollar further.
GoFundMe's instant also.
Yeah.
With YouTube, they make you wait till you get to up to 100, I believe, before they write you a check at the end of the month. So if you don't get to 100 that month, you have to wait till the following month until you build up.
Yep.
So in every dollar with the that shelter, nobody's making money. You know, there's not like some type of CEO making $100,000. All the money goes every time they get like enough money that they can get another animal in, they do it. So, and then they have to wait till an animal is adopted before they can get another one, just because of the money end. I think it's like $100 to adopt a dog, but before you get the dog, they have to do the shots, the the vet bill, because maybe they've got some type of infection or something. I know, different things. They've got to do spade and neutering, so they have to take care of all that stuff, and they just can't bring them all in because they have to make sure there's some going out.
Yep.
Because of the financial reasons. So
Absolutely.
it's a really good place to donate your money.
Thank you. Real quick, Zen Ginger posting the link to that. Candy has posted the link directly to the GoFundMe. The only reason I bring up my site is because you can get there anytime, day or night, and find that link really easy without having to go back through a live stream chat. But Candy's posted the link for the Art GoFundMe, and 44 Mad Guy has posted the link for Pam's calendar. Since it's probably too late to get a hold of Priscilla's, if you're still wanting an awesome calendar with amazing fine art, Pam does that calendar. But sure. I will shut my salesman mouth. I just didn't see any questions, so I figured we'd touch on a couple of really awesome people and really awesome things to support.
GRB is asking if we're planning on doing a tour of ponds and plants. Probably the latest one might be from Bob. Right now, ponds and plants, their numbers are kind of down because of the not being able to get a lot of imports. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel bad going into my local shop. They're literally my local shop, and showing a lot of empty tanks. Because unlike a normal fish store, ponds and plants deals more with selling gigantic habitats to zoos across the country and to private people. They don't really, the pet store is more for fun, I think, and maybe for the guy's mother to have a job to do.
Yeah.
But it's pretty neat because they have such bizarre things that you can buy. And they're also a traveling like zoo for children's parties and stuff. So, but right now they just don't have a whole lot of fish in. And so that's why I haven't done anything. But I don't know. Bob might have one from a few months ago.
Kaylor's Aquatics, Bob saying John just landed because of my sales pitches. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. When there are good causes to support and good people to call out. I mean, there are a lot of amazing people, but once again, Bob was kind of the one that was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to meet you. We'll introduce you to Chattanooga Ed. And if it had not been for that, wouldn't know Ed. I wouldn't have, gotten to go to the Big Fish deal. I wouldn't have gotten to meet a lot of you probably. Because I was just kind of getting started. I mean, I think I maybe had 20, 30 subscribers when I met him, and he was cool, and he reached out, sure, yeah, awesome, another local. Now, I wouldn't know Peck Tech, Sean, wouldn't be buddies with him and get to go play games, so I appreciate Bob. So, thank you.
I was at the Ark this week. Did you know that, James?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because I get to hang out with all the cats. I like that. Oh, but he's also got some 4 little puppies that are super cute, too. I think they're part Dachshund, maybe part Chihuahua. I bet Bob knows that, too. But they're super cute.
I just want to pull up and see what time Dave is starting tonight. He's got one scheduled. Let me look at that. All right, so Dave is going to start. Awesome. I know at one point there was a fairly large gap after we quit until he started. Dave's Aquarium Thoughts is going to be starting up in a little under, well, we'll say 12 minutes by the time this gets to you all. So if you've got any last questions, throw in here. Feel free to throw those in before we go hang out on Dave's Aquarium Thoughts, a late night hangout. Doesn't necessarily have to be Corydoras questions. If you got questions that maybe played over from the first stream, feel free to ask those. Otherwise, I'm going to go through and make sure I didn't miss anything that was not highlighted.
Kimberly just asked if Corydoras eat the algae discus. So do you already know?
Well, I was going to say I give them the extreme cat scrapers, and they love those things. I've also seen the Corys eat. So at one point, I bought like 30 of the Tetra shrimp wafers because they were on sale for $1 on Amazon. I've seen them go for those. I have seen them go for like the oh goodness, what was the brand I was using? I have seen them eat algae wafers. But
Okay.
generally now I feed the extreme cat scrapers wafer, and I know they love those things.
Well, normally I keep those just for the plecos. Right now, all the guppies seem to be around it. Uh-oh. They're sniffing.
Hey.
It's getting close. It's like, oh, well, that's terrible TV. Me watching the game over here where you don't get to see it. Okay. Priscilla says I need more cats. I don't know if my cats would agree with you. But my cats are very tolerant. So when I do get to take care of my mom and dad's cat, they don't really give it too hard of a time.
Yeah.
Cat will hiss at the big fluffy cat, but that's the big. My mom and dad's cat has a huge crush on baby cat. So whenever they get to see each other, it's like he loves to just stare at her, and she's just like a typical girl, and she'll walk up and go, and then walk away. It's so funny.
And like Mike's Aquatics and Things. Once again, another awesome channel. Says Corys don't hardly turn anything down. I've noticed the same. There are very few things that I've seen a Cory just refuse to even deal with. I do want to say a huge thank you. We've got 59 people still watching, and we've got 69 thumbs ups for my buddy here, Chattanooga Ed. Really appreciate that. Looks like we had some new subscribers rolling as well. Thank you for that. This guy is awesome. And he is actually about where he needs to be on watch hours. So we're just going to be working on that subscriber count. So that's always greatly appreciated. If somehow you've gotten here and you haven't subscribed, maybe you're catching this replay. Maybe this got recommended to you from a Fish Room Fever video. Let me just tell you, hit the subscribe button while you're here.
I'm working on a video right now. It's a lot of editing, but I think I'll have it maybe done after the stream, and I'll post it maybe tomorrow. And it's on my air pump, the building of my air pump. It might be totally terrible because it's something that I haven't really done before, is a video like that. So we'll see how it looks, guys.
So we got 3 questions highlighted back to back. Delilah's Critters says, Fisher Fever, how many cats does Ed have? Ed.
2.
Have 2. Plus the upstairs one. This is your parents. It's not yours, but you know, he's so cool. You can't not mention Bo.
Yeah. When I moved here, I was going to get a house, and my mom and dad my dad hated his house. And we found this house because it's like 2 houses into one, because it's like got a full house here, and then they've got a full house. So we joined forces and we bought this place, and it works great. I mean, I got my own. Everything is separate, so I even have water that's separate, electric. It's
Plus,
pretty
you've
cool.
got that massive not pond, but that massive swimming pool. One day I'm going to convince you to turn it into a saltwater pool, and you can stock it with tangs and clownfish. And
yeah, I was planning on getting an out-of-ground pool wherever I found a house, and this one had an in-ground pool. And I know it's kind of pathetic saying that you live with your folks, but I really don't. So
I'll say, yeah, no, you really don't.
I have my own laundry room. But earlier, when I had to mute it, I had a rare sighting because my mom, or not my mom, but my dad came down and asked me if I could fix their TV. He was like, Mom made it so all I have is static. Can you please fix the TV? It's like, as soon as we're done here, Dad.
We've got about 3 minutes. I'm going to grab these real quick. Mr. Fish, Sir Brad says, Fish Room Fever, how many Corydoras types do y'all have? So I currently have Panda Corys and Emerald Corys, and I think maybe Bronze Corys. Don't have a whole lot of Corys right now. That's more Mrs. Fever's jam than it is mine.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I love Corys. I've got 3 types. I've got banded, skunks, and emeralds.
Then S is asking, should I be feeding spirulina in a guppy tank where there is sufficient algae and mulm to graze on? I wouldn't necessarily say you need to be feeding spirulina in there. You'd probably be just fine without it. Honestly, if you're looking to grow out a bunch of guppies, I would recommend the nano pellet. It's 52% protein, 52% crude protein. Really high protein content for really great fry growth, amongst other things. All of that stuff. That is my go-to among what I feed in my guppy tank.
Now you see my guppies. I give them.
BJ Palmer saying, "Look up." Let's see. LOL. Was one of you going to go outside and call the one left behind in case you needed to escape? The old chick trick. Yes, this old chick did this. No, I don't think that we're going to have to do that. But you never know. You never know. We might have to plan that out.
Yeah, I feed my guppies a whole mess of stuff, except I don't feed them a single pellet. They don't get any pellets.
Well, this stuff is so fine. Even calling it a pellet, even though it's a 0.5 millimeter slow sinking pellet is what they label it. So that's what I call it. I don't think this is even the open container. So y'all get to see a freshly opened one here. I'm going to do this super quick because we've got about 1 minute. See if y'all will even be able to get a shot of this. Move my thing over here. This stuff is so fine. I mean, it's more of a powder than a pellet.
Okay.
But it is technically a pellet, but it's awesome stuff for guppies.
That's cool. Yeah, I do brine shrimp, and then I do frozen brine shrimp, and now I'm doing the frozen brine shrimp with spirulina put in it. Bob and James got me hooked on that. Like,
I love it.
Last time I hung out with the two of them at the same time, and it just works really well. I give them frozen Daphnia, and then I give them close up on my beard. This is what I give them. This is my flake. It's omega-1, but I have a bolt in there. See if I can find the bolt. I put this bolts in there, and then I slush it around. Whenever I get low once a week, I pour the stuff in there, and then I watch football, and I do this for like 2 quarters. And at halftime, it's all powder.
Very nice. So we are running into Dave's Aquarium Thoughts time. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you for 72 thumbs ups for this guy. And I'll turn it over to Ed to do his thing.
Oh, happy birthday, Zen. And I think that Joe's birthday was today, too. So happy birthday, Joe. But super cool. I want to remind you guys, I will be on tomorrow at 4:15 4:15 Eastern with Lefty, and we'll be talking about something. Then I'll be on Saturday at 7:30 with James, and till about 9 o'clock. And then I'll be with Bob Kaler from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Sunday evening. And then on Tuesday, I'll be with Diego from 8 to 9. So, yeah, I do co-host on a whole bunch of shows. But just wanted to run through all that stuff. Thank you so much, mods. Zen, I wish I would have known it was your birthday. I would have done something more special for you. Sorry, but it was pretty cool. She won those Indlers last night on Dan's Fish. Thank you, Candy, for always being awesome. Thank you, Bob, for doing a great job modding. If I'm missing, I'm sure I'm missing some guys. Thank you all so much. And this is to Tom.
Dave's Aquarium Thoughts starting now.
Yep.
Link in the chat.